Hello everyone, my name is the Clever Fool. Today we'll be playing the 5th episode of Jadwiga titled Vytautas Crusade. There is an achievement that we're going for here called No Baggage, where we have to defeat the Crimean Tatars without building a town center. Let's go ahead and get started.
June the 18th, 1399. A gift arrived for me today. A silver cradle. For the mother of 2 kingdoms. Courtesy of Vytautas. I could not help but laugh as it was carried into the room. Such a work of beauty. For a man who appreciates nothing but war and power, wine and women. Vytautas. I am not sure he ever gave up on his dream of being sole ruler of Lithuania. He certainly never acts like he is Jogaila's subordinate. For the past few years, Jogaila has been rebuilding our war-torn kingdoms, while I have worked to prevent further conflicts from breaking out. All the while, Vytautas has gone on the offensive. He has now gone off to conquer Tatar Ruthenia, where he has befriended a deposed Khan, one Toktamish. Together, he claims, they are going to conquer their way to the Black Sea.
Alright, our main objectives are to force Kazi Kerman into submission so that Toktamish can reclaim his throne, and to defeat the Crimean Tatars. Our secondary objectives involve liberating Ruthenian villages to gain villagers, and to use Vytautas in combat. The more experience that he gains, the stronger he will become. Our hints tell us that Vytautas can advance to the Imperial Age and support a maximum population of 200. You also cannot construct any naval vessels other than fishing ships in this mission, but there may be another way to obtain some more ships. In this mission, you play as Vytautas' Lithuanian forces and not as the Poles. Remember to collect relics, as each one garrisoned in your monasteries will increase the attack of your heavy cavalry units. Initially, you must liberate Ruthenian villages in order to obtain villagers. Do not wait too long before building your base. The Tatars of Kazi Kerman will not be waiting around idly for you to settle in. Once you build your first town center, Toktamish and his riders will split off to defend their own camp. Raid enemy supply depots to obtain extra resources, complete secondary objectives to speed your economic growth and obtain extra soldiers. The Crimean Tatars are the weaker of your enemies. It might be wise to deal with them quickly so that you can focus your energy on the greater threat from Kazi Kerman. Use chat commands to cooperate with your AI allies. Taunts 3 to 6 will tell them to send you resources, while Taunt 31 will cause them to attack an enemy. In the lead up to the final battle, you can also Taunt 14 to start the battle before the timer has run out. Your scouts report that Vytautas in red and his newfound ally Toktamish in cyan are marching south into the Ruthenian lands held by the Golden Horde. They bring a highly mobile army, but must quickly find a good location to settle in for the long haul. Toktamish, wise from the long struggle against his rival Tamerlane, has already set up a preliminary base further into the country. In the north lies the town of Cherkasy, held by Poland, Lithuania, and Purple. It will not take part in your crusade, but it may send you reinforcements from time to time. The towns of Ruthenia in green are neutral. Their homes are occupied by Muslim Tatars, and they will welcome a Christian ruler, even one so recently converted as Vytautas. The Crimean Tatars in orange occupy the far south of the map as well as the lands west of the Dnieper River. After years of internal strife, they are not mobilized for war. You can take advantage of their slowness to react, at least for a time. They will mostly produce light cavalry and cavalry archers. By the mouth of the Dnieper lies the Tatar capital of the region, Kazi Kerman in blue. This powerful fortress will be your most formidable opponent, although their economic holdings to the east are vulnerable. Expect to face heavy cavalry, cavalry archers, camel riders, and formidable siege engines when its occupants attack. Along the beaches of the Black Sea lies the old Genoese fortress of Vosia in gray. With a history dating back to an ancient Greek settlement, this fortress is now little more than a ruin, but may have some spare weapons lying around. There are also many rumors of a vast Golden Horde army marching from the east. Little is known about its size, or when it is set to arrive, as the scouts sent toward it have all failed to return. Interesting. Okay, so once again, this is going to be a post-commentary. The mission itself is not super difficult, but if you are going for the achievement where you defeat the Crimean Tatars before you build your town center, things become significantly more difficult. So I'll go into that a little bit as we complete our first segment here, and roll over the first Lithuanian village that is occupied. As we do so, we want to destroy the tower to get villagers and to destroy the trade workshops to get resources. After this, I'm going to split my forces into two groups, one of which will head east, one of which will head west. Doing so allows you to cover more ground and liberate more villages in the same amount of time, which will be paramount for us to succeed in this. It'll also give Vytautas some additional opportunities to swing his sword and build experience. As you can see there, we have two villagers, and we're just going to send them back to the top so that they can start mining or chopping wood and build a blacksmith to upgrade our cavalry. Meanwhile, we've done the split. So a couple things that I want to talk about here. Remember, the achievement is to defeat the Crimean Tatars before you build a town center. Now, the Crimean Tatars will resign if you destroy both of their town centers at the south of the map, as well as any castles if you see them. You also have to hold their villager numbers somewhat, but you don't actually have to liberate all the Lithuanian villages. The amount of military they have seems to be unrelated to whether or not they resign. So I'm just picking up some more villagers as well as the cavalry upgrades right now, and sending them back home to build some housing so that we can train some units later on. A thing to consider as well is that once you build a town center, Toktamish's forces will actually revert back to him. So you start with cavalry archers, Toktamesh, some militia, and some some militia. I don't know if you start with any knights. But essentially what happens is if you build a town center, Toktamish's force will turn teal and no longer be under your control. Fortunately for us, that is not super relevant right now because we're not planning on building a town center until much later. And here we have Vytautas gaining some experience. One other thing to consider is that you, Kazi Kerman, will send a few light cavalry out north and pick up some of your villagers if you're not careful. That's why I'm tucking my villagers up in the north if I can, so that I can avoid having to deal with the Kazi Kerman light cavalry. In fact, I think right now on screen you can see that we have intercepted one such light cavalry with our rightmost forces. Also, I just took the opportunity for those two liberated villagers in the east to build a dock. Docks will be very useful because they can produce fishing ships, so they'll be able to start boosting our economy without having a town center available. Once you liberate all Lithuanian villages, have I been saying Lithuanian this whole time? I meant Ruthenian, my apologies. Once you liberate all the Ruthenian villages, then they as a faction will join you, and they train some men-at-arms, pikemen, relatively weak units. But also, more importantly, they will use those units to actually combat the enemy, which is cool. But then later on, there's a trigger that spawns a bunch of arbalesters and, I believe, bowyers that will help you. And that trigger only occurs if the Ruthenian villages are on your side, I believe. I have to confirm that, actually. In any case, we have liberated 5 out of the 9 Ruthenian villages now. Most of our villagers are gathering wood, and we are getting more fishing ships out on the water as we are able. Vytautas is gaining tons of fighting experience here. And we have a stable online to start training knights. Replenishing our starting force is going to be quite vital here, because we need to have a critical mass of cavalry to be able to take on the Crimean Tatars' resource depots.
Thank you for freeing us from the Tatars. We will help you in the fight against the Horde.
This is where the arbalesters and bowyers will spawn later on. Another thing to consider as well is that blue Kazikurman will send a force of camels and heavy cavalry archers at you eventually. So you need to move kind of quickly in order to be able to complete your objectives before that force takes out a good chunk of your own cavalry force. That's why it's important to make sure that you're replenishing knights whenever possible. It's also important to move quickly because if you don't move quickly enough, Orange will complete a castle. Once they complete their castle, you pretty much need to restart if you're going for the achievement, because the villagers will hide inside and you'll need to destroy the castle, and you just won't have the momentum to be able to do so. What makes this mission particularly difficult if you're intending to complete it in the same run as you get the achievement is that after you beat the Crimean Tatars, Kazikurman will immediately start constructing a wonder. The timing of this is really inconvenient because around the same time, the Golden Horde will also take notice of you and start a countdown to an invasion that will cross the bridge from the eastern portion of the map. Normally, if you're just going by the plop the town center down route, build up, and defeat the Crimean Tatars, you know, not so quickly, you have plenty of time to improve your economy and improve the military and establish a presence in the region. But because we're doing all of this before we have an established town, it makes things much more difficult because everything moves faster and we have less of an economy set up as all of these triggers are firing off. You will see what I mean in due time. That being said, I do really like how playing to get the achievement actually makes this mission play out at a much faster pace. Without the achievement, it is not so difficult. It's actually pretty easy because you can boom up at your leisure. But with the achievement, the experience is very, very fast-paced, and it got my heart beating
under your rule. From this day forth, we fight for Lord Vytautas.
Alright, so now we have the Ruthenian villages on our side because we have liberated all of the countryside here. And we have some replacement knights flowing through now. And we are producing a monk to pick up that relic that is in the pond in the left. With our force of 24, maybe 29-ish units after reinforcements, we are going to head across the river here to take out the Crimean Tatars' two town centers. I believe if you don't destroy all of the Ruthenian village garrisons, if you attack the town center, the Tatars will send them all back towards you. So having all those forces kind of converge on you at once makes this much more difficult if you haven't done a good job of clearing them out. Right now, unfortunately, we are getting counter-raided by a squad that I didn't manage to eliminate. We might lose a couple of villagers there. But we are able to send knights backwards, and we only lost 2 villagers. Still a pretty rough blow, but not something that we cannot recover from.
The Christians of Ruthenia have long lived under the Tatar yoke. If you construct monasteries in the towns that lack places of worship, I am sure that the Polish nobility will deem it prudent to aid you in your holy quest.
Okay, and there you can see the force of Kazikurman heavy cavalry archers. They showed up to reinforce just as we were destroying the second town center. And now the Crimean Tatars have resigned, and we will pop the achievement. I think I might have popped it in an earlier attempt, so that's why you don't see it on screen now, but rest assured, I did not construct a town center. So I would have popped the achievement here if I hadn't already.
Will soon be mine. But I wonder, why stop here? With the
Pole's support, I shall call a crusade against the Tatars and drive them back to Asia!
I hope that you do not refer to me. I am Mongol, not Tatar. Big difference.
We should also remember that for this mission, we're actually playing as the Lithuanians. So that relic is giving us not just gold, but a
But we
free
will
attack.
both need bases
attack.
of operations to win this war. I shall make camp to the west. Give me your signal when you are ready to attack.
Alright, so now that our town center is online, Kazikurman is beginning to wonder. I think they trigger because our town center is up, and also the Crimean Tatars have been defeated. A bunch of the cavalry archers have reverted back to Toktamish, as shown, or briefly shown off screen. And now we are left with our block of melee units, which is primarily consisted of knights now. Most of them were probably created in the reinforcing stable, which just goes to show that it's important that you always continue spending your resources. Our priority now is to boom up and figure out a way to take out the Kazikurman Wonder as well. We do know that the Golden Horde is going to rear their head in our direction as well, so there's going to be a lot of things that we have to prepare for. This whole time we also need to repel attacks from Kazikurman in the form of heavy cavalry archers and heavy camels. Just knights is not super well suited to that, so we need to bait them over towards Toktamish, who will build a castle to help us out. Once we get our own castle online, we will also be able to bait the enemy into our own castle and be much safer. I'm going to try to construct my castles close to the river in the east because that is the direction that the Golden Horde will come in. By constructing castles in that area that can all support each other, I'm kind of creating a death zone that will serve to defend against both Kazikurman and the Golden Horde. For now, because these heavy cavalry archer waves lack follow-up camel waves, I don't feel too bad about sending in Castle Age Knights and Laisha at them. There are the heavy camels. Our army is spread and we're going to take quite a few losses here. But we needed to do some damage to them anyway, because otherwise they would have sent those units over in an attack wave anyhow. If I had to do this again, I would build town centers even faster. I believe this is the third town center I'm getting up. I guess I'm going at a decent town center construction rate. But to get your economy jump started, you do want to go even faster and spend your resources even more. For example, I could build another town center somewhere right now, but I'm not doing it. We're leading blue all the way across the map so that we can take the fight inside Toktamish's base. His development doesn't really matter to me. He's a reasonably helpful ally, but overall relatively inconsequential. When it comes to allies like this, they always have their best value early on in the game, when they have more resources, buildings, and units than you do. The Ruthenians are also heading out with a force of archers and longswordsmen. Again, will probably be fairly inconsequential against Kazikurman, but at the very least, it's something.
I must say, I never expected you to be a defender of the faith, Vytautas. But regardless, your actions are inspiring.
So there are 3 monasteries that you can construct inside 3 Ruthenian villages that do not have these monasteries. Every time you construct those, you'll get a force of obuks like I just saw there. This is a nice way to bolster up your early military numbers so that you can ward off attacks and protect your economy. It's important to time the construction of these buildings properly so that you don't accidentally suddenly lack the population headroom to do what else you need to do, for example, training villagers and building the economy. It's really important to strategically get those reinforcements so that you can navigate around the population limit as much as you can. Now I'm just getting a market online, because I know in the far west of the map there is a Ruthenian market that I can trade with. On the off chance that gold runs scarce, I would just like to have a zone preset to have trade. I don't think I'm in any danger of running out of gold anytime soon, though. There's gold piles all over the map to take. And we do still have the relics on the west side of the map is quite good for building town centers. There's a gold pile, a stone pile, plenty of open area for farmland, and a couple of nice wood lines. So I do highly recommend constructing some economic buildings over there. Furthermore, they're very far away from Kazikirman and the Golden Horde, so it's unlikely that they'll get attacked right away. Once again, we're just ducking inside our friend's castle so that our units get their HP saved and we leverage the castle's defenses to ward off as many attacks as possible. Unfortunately, we still are getting raided here. That original town center is going to be under a lot of pressure and we're going to lose quite a bit of economy here. But because we have enough town centers spread around the map, losing a few villagers to a raid like this, while annoying, is not necessarily the end of the world. Obuks are a super tanky unit. Even though we're playing as the Lithuanians, we are able to enjoy the Obuks that get spawned as reinforcements from Jadwiga. Here I am getting another town center out and trying not to lose this town center. I think we will be able to save it if we manage to fend off those siege rams. Enemy siege weapons is one of the main reasons why you want to ensure that you always have a mobile melee force available. Otherwise, they will delete your buildings extremely quickly. Static defenses like castles and towers and town centers are otherwise excellent against raiding forces of cavalry, but in particular against archers. AI archers seem to be very stupid and enjoy attacking static defenses for some reason, even though they're archers, and any sane, real human player would not waste their archers on buildings. Unless, of course, they are arbalesters with obsidian arrows, which has been patched out of the game for several months now, I believe. But yeah, here I am, mining more stone, actually running very low on wood, but also I would like to think about advancing to the Imperial Age soon, just so that I can get access to those upgrades. And Kazikirman has completed their wonder now. There is a way to outright defeat Kazikirman and destroy their wonder, but you will see in this video I use a different aspect of this campaign in order to take the wonder out in a very sneaky method.
You must be proud to have taken so much land from us while we were busy elsewhere, Lithuania. Now, enough child's play. Meet me in the field by the Voskla River. I will give you 3 days to prepare your forces.
Every last man that we can find. Let us crush these Tatars once and for all.
Alright, so essentially the Golden Horde has noticed us, and they are about to attack in 3 days' time, which is about 10 minutes of in-game time. We can always start the timer early by pressing 14, which is start the game already. but that's pretty suicidal, honestly. You want to use all the time that we can get to continue building up and getting to the next age. I haven't even clicked
My
up
men
yet.
will ride with you to battle.
Here's Tamish being a homie and spawning a bunch of heavy cavalry archers and Keshiks for us. These guys are going to turn out to be super clutch as we try to take the southwestern base there, the gray base, Vozia. That base is guarded by, I believe, pikemen and maybe some Condotiros and some Genoese crossbowmen, as well as at least one bombard cannon. The reason why taking this base is super good is for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that after you kill the inhabitants, if you build a castle inside the fort, you'll get a tribute of gold, which can be quite useful. But also there is a relic inside, which again, as the Lithuanians, will boost your cavalry attack. You can garrison it in the monastery, as of course the gold income from the relic as well. But then there's even a third thing, which is that it will allow you to get access to 2 galleons and 2 cannon galleons, which you can then sail upriver to destroy Kazikerman's wonder with. Now, something to be super careful of is that, at least on the hardest difficulty, Kazikerman does have a couple of fast fire ships hanging out on the river.
I must retire for a while. A stray arrow pierced my side and threw me from my horse. Send word when you have retaken my throne for me, Vytautas.
My nobles are eager to fight for you, Vytautas. But I grow concerned. Is Ruthenian not enough? Must you conquer all of Asia to satisfy your vanity?
Alright, so that set of reinforcements from the Poles, I don't know what triggered that. Perhaps there was a timely trigger, but it's nice preparation of military for this next incoming raid, but also for the inevitable Golden Horde attack. It definitely wasn't triggered by a monastery because I still only have built 1 out of the 3. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure where that set of reinforcements came from. Now I'm just sending some villagers over to build the castle and a monk over to grab the relic. And trying to prop up my food eco even more. Food is going to be much more important than wood. I would like to have way more farmers than I currently have. That way I'll be able to continue pumping out paladins, Laisha, and Lithuanian winged hussars. We also clicked up to the Imperial Age, so that we will be ready in time with upgrades when the Golden Horde arrives. We don't want to be outcast.
with you to victory, Lord Vytautas.
Here come the Arbalesters and the Bowyers from the Ruthenian villages. So even though I've actually produced very few military units myself, only a few rams and some cavalry, I believe, my military strength currently is very good. It's over 100 units strong. And I believe that they count as units that are created by our civilization, so I believe upgrades do apply to them, which is also excellent. This scenario does a great job of taking care of you in that regard.
What a sight! With this new stronghold, we can benefit from the trade on the Black
Here's
Sea.
Vozia giving us 800 gold, as well as our ships coming under our control here. We just gotta be super careful to avoid the fire ships, and we also need to remember that we cannot create warships of our own, I believe. So those cannon galleons are going to be all that you can get. Now, in my particular case...
You are doing well, Vytautas.
Sorry, Jadwiga.
All throughout court, there is gossip about your pious actions.
As I was saying, the fast fire ships that I mentioned before will not be in the river. During the cavalry attack that I made on the Crimean Tatars to destroy their town centers, the fire ships actually got lured down to the southern end of the island, so my ships were able to sneak by them without being detected by them.
Ką sakysi? Klausau. Imidžiato. Aš pasiruošusi. Eini statytojų. Eini statytojų.
Aš pasiruošęs. Eimi statytum.
Now my ships are just sailing upriver here.
The time has come! Let us crush the Golden Horde once and for all!
Tamish is getting absolutely obliterated in his attack against Kazakirman. Would have been better for him to show up against the Golden Horde here with me, but again, you can't pick what your AI does.
God has certainly blessed you, Vytautas. I hear that even the Pope is impressed with what you have accomplished for the Ruthenians.
It also looks like that building monasteries gets you resources. Poland and Lithuania just attributed us 1,000 gold and 300 stone at least. I also should have constructed my university earlier to get the university text earlier. Particularly chemistry and ballistics. Now we have these not bombard cannons, but rather cannon galleons, taking out Kazakirman's wonder from the shoreline. After you take that wonder out, the timer becomes much more lenient and you can take the rest of the mission at a slower pace. Now the Golden Horde will also construct a wonder themselves, so the timer doesn't end with Kazakirman's wonder, but the second timer is less scary if you're able to take care of this first timer here. Bye bye, Kazakirman's wonder.
Aš pasiruošęs. Sveiki, eimi statyti. Ką sakysi? Eimi medžiatų.
Here comes the Horde.
Ką sakysi?
Now, their initial push is going to be the scariest push, so you just need to make sure that you're catching this one properly. I'm over my pop limit, but I also don't have fully upgraded units yet, which could be somewhat troublesome. I'm just building some extra stables because I have the wood, and replenishment rate is super important here. Resources are not the limiting factor, but training time is. This is why it's absolutely critical to have multiple castles. It would have been nice if I could even build a third castle here. And what I'm doing now is I'm sending a squad of cavalry around a big block of Golden Horde forces to take out the trebuchets. If you can take out the trebuchets, then having the castles in place will pretty safely handle the rest of the Horde. Yeah, I will typically win by just having a big mass of meat in front of their siege weapons, but historically they're not actually all that great at taking care of the siege weapons. So you can snipe them out, it's well worth running away from the cavalry just to do so, so that the static defenses can clear out. That Treb's even within range of the castle, so again, the AI does not seem to be super smart. We've got beefed up paladins now, and look at our population. It was previously like 230 out of 200, and in a matter of a couple of minutes, it's dropped all the way down to 147 again. And we've spent a ton of our food just trying to replenish our paladins. But our castles are standing strong, and the Horde's initial force is being cleaned up here.
Sveiki. Klausau. Eimi
Eimi statytum. Aš pasiruošęs. Eimi statytum.
Another thing that I do like a lot about the scenario is that there's resources everywhere. You're not going to run short of wood, you're not going to run short of food, you're not going to run short of stone or gold, really. There's a lot of things going on here, and a lot of time-sensitive objectives, which makes the scenario pacing quite pleasant compared to a more standard build and destroy scenario.
Aš
Ką
pasiruošusi.
sakysi? Eimi statytum.
Ką įsiklausau? Eimi statytum.
Golden Horde has completed their wonder now, so we need to destroy that as well as their 3 castles. Destroying their wonder is not officially a victory condition for this campaign, but you will lose if the timer goes down to 0, so... I don't know if the default time is 300 either. I thought it was 200 years, so maybe for the purposes of this scenario they have atheism. Someone has atheism. The Hun unique tech. That's nice of the developers, to give you a bit more time to actually prepare and launch your assault.
Food, please.
Worth a shot. Maybe Vytautas will be a homie and tribute us some food. Now I'm just training a bunch of trebs so that I can destroy castles and the wonder in fewer volleys.
Ką sakysi? Eimi kas? Eimi statytum.
It's important to group up your siege together so that they are applying tons of pressure as opposed to just trickling them in. Otherwise they'll get easily cleaned up by your opponents. Here we have Vytautas coming in with a pretty strong attack as well. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit worried here that I wouldn't be able to bust in there and destroy the wonder before the countdown went down. I also should have made an effort to repair that damaged castle. I do believe it stays up, so I don't get punished, but I could have easily been punished there. Would have been a pretty annoying blow. Unfortunately, Blue's forces got distracted by my cavalry running through.
Sveiki. Aš pasiruošusi. Eimi statytum.
Sveiki. Eimi statytum.
Sveiki. Eimi statytum. Ką įsiklausau? Eimi statytum. Aš pasiruošusi. Sveiki. Ką įsiklausau? Eimi statytum.
Not sure where those yellow trebuchets are going, but can't say I complain that their pathfinding was bad. And Vosi is continuing to pay gold to us, so it's not just a one-time 800 gold tribute. The trade route to the Black Sea will continue benefiting you over time. And the important thing about that tribute is that it costs no villagers, so you have more population headroom for military. Vytautas is pretty much a non-factor now. Our main enemy has definitely shifted to become the Golden Horde here. for these larger scale battles, it's good to know that Control Shift is the basic default hotkey for selecting all buildings of a particular type. So Control Shift A is all archery ranges, Control Shift B is all barracks, Control Shift L is all stables. And for queuing unit, you can also press Shift and then the hotkey for the unit to queue up 5 of them at once instead of just queuing up 1. For really large scale battles like this one, or even for deathmatch, or just any long running late game match, these hotkeys will really help increase the efficiency of your actions. Knowledge of these keys makes maps such as The Last Romans, which I'll be uploading eventually, much easier, because you have fewer buttons to press. Saves your wrist from carpal tunnel as well. Paladins beefed up with relics are super cool. I also just haven't felt the need for Leishai right away, because the Golden Horde doesn't really have high armored units, so to speak. The beefiness of the Paladins definitely helps here. But now we're running a little bit low on gold. We've been floating a lot of gold, but that's because of incoming tributes. So we've been sort of overspending. Now we're just down to about 400 gold. So it's important that this push is effective here. Otherwise we'll have to start using weaker units, which will weaken future pushes. And now Kaiser Kerman's coming out with another wave, directed not at our defenses, but rather at our attack force. Super annoying, but so long as these trebs can knock down this castle here, or not the castle, the wonder, then my timer will be pretty much completely relaxed, so I'll not need to worry for the rest of the mission.
Held by a bloody Tatar! My father will mock me in the afterlife.
Sveiki. Aš pasiruošęs.
Aš pasiruošusi. Eimi statytų.
Ką įsakysi? Sveiki. Eimi statytų.
Not too much else here to say.
Also.
We just have one more Golden Horde castle to destroy. Our eco is pretty strong, though we have 15 idols somewhere. I guess that was 8 of the idols.
Aš pasiruošęs. Ką įsakysi? Eimi medžiatų.
Aš pasiruošusi. Eimi statytų. Eimi kastų. Eimi kastų.
Now, I should be thinking about picking up the Winged Hussar tech here. Roseate Gold coming in clutch. It's making up a big chunk of my finances now. There we go, there's the Winged Hussar upgrade. Now we even have the Ruthenian villages getting in on the act. Scorpions. Castle Age units. Yeah, baby, yeah.
Inestatutum. Sveiki, aš pasiruošusi.
Hunters seem to get chemistry there. Their arrows were fiery. You can cook the deer as you're hunting it.
Ką įsakysi? Eime medžiatų.
Again, fighting under the castle is the best, especially when the opponent is on siege. It allows you to reinforce faster and kill off their units at a pretty quick pace here. Population is still only sitting at around 165. But there you can see there's an attack force coming through. We'll take care of that attack force, and that'll be a vulnerable moment for the Golden Horde. When fighting against AI, right after you get attacked is typically when they are the most vulnerable to a counterattack. I think that can be said for human players as well, because their forces are at your base, so there are fewer forces defending their base, you know? Kerman's attack timing is actually quite good. They always seem to attack at the most annoying instance.
Attack an enemy now.
Fortunately, I can order my AI buddies around to distract my opponents for me at least. And the castle is proving to be very strong.
The Tatars flee the battlefield! After them, men! Slaughter them and scatter them to the wind! For Lithuania!
Okay, so now we have a new objective, which is to crush the fleeing Tatars. I wasn't sure why the objective was so, I guess, generic, or like vague is a better word. So I figured it might have been a trap. My monk is really not having a good time trying to recover that relic either. I also did notice that there were a lot of units over on that east section in the fog of war. I think that's because I built a building or something, or I had a trev over there that had a really long sight range and was able to see something. So that kind of gave away the trap a little bit as well.
Klausau. Sveiki, ką sakysi?
There's lots of gold on the Golden Horde side of the map. I considered taking it, but decided there wasn't really too much of a need since there was so much other gold on the rest of the map, and I had a trade network up. Waiting for my monk to cross the bridge safely with that relic before I wander into the southeast here with my pursuing force. And indeed it was a trap.
You should have attacked 3 days ago, Vytautas, before Jadwiga's second army arrived. Instead, you walked right into our trap. Turn around, men! Slaughter them! Leave none alive!
Okay, so now, instead of crushing them, we are running away. I guess this is kind of reenacting a tactic that was used against Vytautas historically.
Ką sakysi? Einu statyti. Aš pasiruošusi. Einu statyti.
Aš pasiruošęs. Sveiki. Eimi statyti.
Aš pasiruošusi. Ką sakysi? Eimi kirstų.
And I think there's no point in fighting those guys. I think the units just keep coming back.
Obliterated! Those blasted Tatars lured me into a position where they could surround me! Brilliant tactic, but not one you want to be on the receiving end of.
So after destroying the bridge, the Golden Horde is pretty much a non-factor. The units will inevitably run away off the map and be irrelevant for the rest of the campaign. All we need to do now is defeat Tatars.
Aš pasiruošiu kastų.
But at this point, we've safely reached the point where our momentum is solidly stronger than the computers. So it's really just a matter of time now, rather than a matter of if.
Attack an enemy now.
Sveiki. Eimi statytų.
Even now, Vytautas is still coming in clutch with those gold tributes. That Black Sea trade, super lucrative. Overall, I have to say that this was my favorite campaign out of the Jadwiga set. I think playing it to get the achievement makes it much more interesting and dynamic than it otherwise would be. But I like how you can play this in an urgent and a relaxed manner. Plus the scale is just so grand, it really does Vytautas a lot of justice, I feel like. And running things over with Winged Hussars is just cool, man. Winged Hussars, beefed up paladins. What more could a guy ask for? Kaiser Kerman also has an economic area in addition to the main city on the right, which you can see streaming towards us now, just off screen. Fortunately, even though we're going to lose that squad of 4 trebuchets, we still have backup squads of trebuchets incoming. And you can also sneak in from the southeast if you want to get into the heart of the enemy base. I think I actually tried that now with some Winged Hussars. But that just about does it.
Close up. Mr.
What I like about this achievement as well is that you can pretty much tell if you're going to be able to get it and win after the Kaiser Kerman Wonder gets destroyed. If you're able to get there, then destroying the Golden Horde Wonder is the next, I guess, part where you can actually maybe fail. Perhaps also their initial attack wave. But once you're able to kind of overcome each challenge, the scenario gets steadily easier, even though you're still on a time limit. So it was very engaging for most of this. This recording is about an hour long of real time. I was pretty much up and engage in it up until, you know, minute 45 or so, which is pretty good.
Closer. Cai-se imediato.
Alright, and that is the end. I don't know why they resigned out of the blue. Maybe it triggers when Toktamish gets over there or something.
I have received no news of Vytautas' escapades in Ruthenia for some days now. I pray that he is successful. And yet, I fear that his insatiable hunger for power will be the downfall of everything I have striven for. But for now, I must not worry about Vytautas. I have more pressing worries. And my mind is racing with fear and anticipation. My body swells and aches and changes. To walk is exhausting, and to lie down is no relief. For days I have written in this journal to keep my mind occupied. But now I can barely even do that. Any day now, I will give birth to my first child, Jadwiga's firstborn. The heir of 2 kingdoms, whose union I have worked so hard to foster. I look out of the window, breathing the crisp morning air. Kraków is beautiful in its thin dress of mist and sunlight. The Vistula glitters. Birds sing their praises to God, from trees and bushes and tufts of grass. And for just a short moment, it seems as though every thread in the fabric of reality is made of gold, glowing and glittering like never before. Any day now.
Yeah, so judging by how the right side of the map became Toktamish's, it probably is a trigger that will happen if one of Toktamish's units makes it to maybe like across the bridge on the east side of the map or something like that. Or maybe like 20 of Toktamish's units, just to show that the main stronghold has been captured. But overall, this was quite a fun mission. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be signing off soon. I don't even know if my past self signed off, so maybe you'll get 2 sign-offs. But thanks for watching, guys. I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.